Hello everyone, this is Nuggets of Wisdom. I'm here in Pula, Croatia, and I'm with Felice Marano. So as you know, I love to introduce my guests and the reason I wanted to have them. How I met Felice. Felice was dressed as like kind of Roman king,
Yes.
dancing like crazy at the opening party of the Mind Valley University, but literally like crazy. I felt like, and it was so hot. I felt like I'm so happy someone is dancing like that for me, so that I don't have to sweat. But I still feel he's alive for all of us. He's shining what it means to be alive and what it means to be let go and let yourself be carried by your inner wilderness. I think that's the word, like the craziness, but it's like almost, but it's controlled.
In a conscious way.
In a very,
Always.
very conscious, very centered at the same time.
And we were in a real Colosseum, by the way, which is important.
Yeah, we were in the Coliseum, the arena here in Pula, beautiful setup. But there were many other encounters in the months we've spent here together. And every time, this man brought me at the same time peace, but also, you know, the craziness at the same time. You don't have to be a yogi and forget to be alive. And I think that's why I would really I'm very glad to have you here. It's like, how can we be peaceful and, you know, that, but still be very alive?
Glad to be here.
So, tell us how it started. How, like, have you always been like that? Very peaceful, very crazy? Or was there a time before we, you know, maybe...
I think I've mainly been always like very, let's say, kind of crazy and wild in terms of personality. And maybe this led me to a need many years ago, like about 10 years ago, of starting exploring things that were more spiritual, like yoga, which I've always been looking for. Like, I don't know, I've always studied different religions, but then all of this curiosity towards spirituality led me to yoga many years ago. And maybe, yeah, it's thanks to that I can kind of balance two things. And while I'm saying this, like, there's something I realized in the past, like in the past few days, like I believe most of the people that have been doing like great things in the spirituality, like, I don't know, think of Buddha or whatever, like those people, I'm sure they were like very proactive and crazy, like, you know, they were looking for answers, they were going around, like, so I believe like those people that have something to understand, they're seekers, right? So I believe, like, I don't feel I'm a calm person. It's the opposite. I'm always eager to learn more, to understand more. And since I'm very proactive and I have all of this life, that's why I think it's needed for me to find also that way to calm down.
Yeah. So is it new, or has it always been like that? Because I feel like probably there were moments where, I don't know where you grew up, but, you know, if you're into yoga, spirituality, there are not so many people that understand that. Most people are just...
I know, like, I'm from a very small village of not even 10,000 inhabitants, and yoga is not a thing, spirituality is not a thing. But I don't know, it just happened, like, seriously. I wanted to explore certain things from Asia, like Tai Chi and this kind of disciplines, and then by chance I got instead into yoga. And but something changed in my life. Like, in a way, it was always kind of a hobby, so something I would put on the side, because my main occupation has always been working with startups, entrepreneurs, and in the last few years, managing the innovation team of one of the largest food companies in the world. So I will do that, but at the same time, I will keep like practicing and looking for answers, or like practicing yoga, basically. But I know you want to know something different, right?
I think that's the entrance point. But what I feel is, I'm curious about what challenges you. You know, the moments where life is throwing at you things that challenge that inner peace or that craziness, and like say, no, don't be peaceful. No, don't be crazy. And the things that put you back wanted to put you back in the because you don't fit in a box, you know. Like it's hard. I've seen you dance. Like it goes in all directions. And I'm curious to know how you dance with that. You know, the word challenging you and what you learn through that process.
Yeah, I think it just like I had a switch, a big switch, like a big change in my life when I was living in Sao Paulo working for this large corporation, and the work was very stressful. Not just because like a corporate environment can be very stressful itself, but because the fact that I don't fit in a box, whatever this box everybody's talking about is, but I felt the need of changing the corporate environment from the inside in terms of culture, in terms of like giving freedom to people to still be productive and work, but by expressing themselves, by being themselves, which means I was kind of in a fight every day. So maybe I was not like doing the things in a peaceful way, but it was kind of like fighting, right? Which took away a lot of energy from me. And I realized at a certain point, like that was not the life I wanted to be. And instead of fighting against walls and the world trying to change things, I should have maybe like stepped back and trying to understand if there were other people or companies or I don't know, like individuals that were already flowing in a different kind of life. So I'm making it short, but it was a very hard and difficult process to realize that I would step out of the corporate environment, entrepreneurship environment, and I did so with the intention of starting a sabbatical year and realize what would be those things I will keep doing every day in my life if I would have no CEO to listen to, no paid job. Like it's just me and my life. What would be those things I would do every day? And those two things turned up to be yoga and writing. And I understood there was like something to explore in that direction. But the main point was that, let's say, after I had this breakdown because of my job and the big amount of work I was doing, so I left the job and I was basically jobless without a specific purpose in my life, if not understand what could be this purpose. And then I discovered by chance that I have a lifelong disease. So in that moment, I didn't have just to deal with the difficulty of life itself, like things I have created by my own, but also some other things that were coming. And at first, it could have seemed like something, it was tragic, so like I had to face like very bad things because suddenly you wake up one day, you are jobless, back home like with your family, and facing death. So the moment I faced death, I realized that actually it was an opportunity for me to open up to life. So like I wanted to, it gave me the opportunity to see things from the opposite perspective I was seeing them before. So what basically happened, although my plan was to have a sabbatical year and travel around the world and have fun as everybody we are doing nowadays, I realized the only needed thing in life sometimes is to do nothing. Is to travel in within ourselves. So we may be looking for many answers outside, but I believe we have a lot of those answers inside. Just those answers, they're like so deep, and we cover them with a lot of beliefs we have or like things we have created ourselves of society that you need to go like very deep inside for a very long time. So what I decided to do, it was not traveling, but being stable in one exact place for a very long time and meditate every day so much more than I was doing before. So I realized when the sabbatical year was finished, I was going back to kind of same lifestyle. So I'm gonna have this job and yoga is gonna be my hobby. And I had this paper in front of me with like everything was like these exercises we also do like coach and this kind of thing. So everything was on a paper. And I saw like, why am I doing this again? Like, why yoga? It's a hobby, and why like working for entrepreneurs or like helping others in the whatever corporate business environment like has to be the main thing. And I decided to switch the thing. So I decided like I will put those things in the main chapter or like category of my life. And when I did so, everything basically changed because it made me realize like we don't have to have a sabbatical year, we can have a sabbatical life. Which like the year has passed, like it's 1.5 years, almost 2 years of sabbatical life, which made me realize like you can still help others, you can still have a job, but it's like the mindset, the way you're doing those things. So although there are a lot of informations out there related like the way we should live our life to be peaceful or more centered or like whatever, even if we want to get that success, the like everything, I think we know somehow certain things. We know somehow our answers. We just don't take time to spend time with ourselves. We are always looking for answers like in the outside, or we give a lot of importance to sharing life with others, like in terms of like necessarily being with a couple, which I don't think it's wrong, but I really believe like we need to look at ourselves first, like having the courage to understand that like sometimes we really need to live loneliness, to be alone, and like to explore. So basically I started to do this process of intense meditation every day, which kind of gave me the strength to understand that like I was not scared of my disease. I wasn't scared of that at all, and all the fears I had, they were something coming from society. So yeah, basically I realized that through silence and through meditation we can have the opportunity to access some kind of knowledge which generally we don't get from society. And I don't know if if it sounds strange or whatever, but like I really believe there is like this general knowledge like somewhere in the universe we can always access, but like to really tune to that consciousness and to get those knowledge we really need to go deep. So I started to realize that I know nowadays like I don't have a disease, like my body does, but I'm alive because I understood like that I have a soul or whatever. I don't know what I am, I don't have answers, and like I don't want to give answers to people, but I realized like I have a body and my body is doing an experience and is living a disease. But as far as I understood that me as a spirit, as a person, whatever I am, I don't have, like I'm not diseased, I can still live my life like the same way and even more powerful than I used to do before. So when I realized this, when I realized that there is no rush in life, sometimes we get attached to the past. Like I used to live in Brazil and I was crying a lot because I wanted to go back there. But then I realized like as much as you are doing a project or like you're giving something to people in a specific place and you start planting a seed, even if you leave the country or the place, the company, whatever it is, you're still like you're still there. Like as much as you leave a seed, you don't necessarily need to be there forever. Like you are there, you were there. And the same it happens with the future, I believe. Like if we are thinking and planting a seed of like I wanted to go to India. So I was in the middle, like coming from Brazil and going to India. But I realized I needed to stop. And what gave me the strength to stop was like I don't need to rush in my future. Like as much as I can visualize myself in India, I am in India already. So I started to realize like I am not living like, which I think is kind of like transcending the concepts of disease, the concept of time, the concept of space, which we read in books. But it's not easy to embrace these concepts, because I believe like it's not a book, it's not a person, it's not an advice. Like we need all of these things, but then we need to do our work. Like we need to sit down and work hard, not just for the others, but for ourselves.
Okay, let me, because this is going very fast.
Yeah.
This is
too many 200 things at the same time.
Yeah, see, like once we dive in the wisdom. So I just wanted to slow down to make sure that it's received.
Okay.
And there are like so many things, and I want to highlight a couple of that struck me as we were speaking. The first one was you said, you know, it's when I was facing death that I decided to face life.
Yeah.
And one thing that struck me also in your approach in that was most people, or like I wouldn't say most people, but a lot of the story about like people having life-threatening disease, whether it's cancer or whatever disease they can have, they tend to, you know, the movies are, now I'll have my bucket list and I'll go and explore the world. It's basically an outer quest. It's like what is sold to us. Like if you have 1 year to live, now you're going to travel. And what you decided to do was quite the opposite. Instead of have the outer journey, say, no, I'll go for the inner journey. Instead of traveling around because I don't know how long I have to live now, it might be very short, I'll stay in one place. And And wow, first of all, to just take the other opposite direction as the main trend, and then based on that, all the inner wisdom that you said that you got from your deep meditation and looking within, instead of running outward. And the last thing that you were sharing is not last thing. Then you said, and I think that's a very important one, is I am not sick. My body, my physical representation is going through a disease experience.
Yeah,
but
I'm starting to call it like a condition. It's not a disease, like it's yeah.
But I am not sick. The higher I is not going through that. And the last one that you were sharing, because we can dive in all these topics, but just like to make sure all this was, I don't have to be everywhere. Because we all have this fear of missing out. I have to be in that conversation. I have to go to India. Oh, and I also want to have a family, and I also want a lot of pressure, but also saying, if I want to have the experience of going to India, I have been there, you have been there, and you project yourself on what it provided you. And if there's an impact you want to do in Brazil, well, you have been there, so you've planted some seeds. It's not your responsibility to be everywhere and change the whole thing. And I think what I hear, and basically if I had to put all these things that you've shared with me now and with us, is go within. Go within to find the answers. Go within to make the change. Go within to be at peace. I don't know. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I tried to go like from the last to back. Maybe what with the last thing you said, it made me realize like one of the other concepts I learned and I'm experiencing by myself. It's like when I teach yoga or like whatever thing I'm doing, if people come to me, they always want to know like what they have to do. Like we tend to think we have some work to do. And the first thing I say to people, it's like, relax, we have nothing to do. I don't believe like we always need to go through a process of like, I have a disease, so I have to figure it out, like how I'm gonna change my life, or I don't know, I need to relax, calm. Like the first step for me is like do nothing. It's learning to understand that sometimes you have no work to do. Because if we keep believing that we have to work all the time on our life, on our beliefs, on our future, then it's gonna be hard because it's stressful. And I realized I don't wanna make my life stressful, and the first thing I can do not to have a stressful life is realize I have nothing to do. Which doesn't mean like I'm living my life in a passive way, but it gave me the power and the strength to own my life and not be dependent from concepts of like things I have to do and lists I have to write and like retreats I have to go. As much as I love these things and doing these things and I'm promoting these things, right? But I feel like sometimes we need to do nothing and stop. And then you said something about the fact of the thing like generally if we have a problem like a disease or whatever it is, we tend to live our life like I'm dying, I need to do things tomorrow. And I realize because of my disease that yes, I have a problem, yes, I may die tomorrow, but things are changing nowadays. Depending from what you have, you can still cure yourself through science, which means you're gonna live a long life. And this made me realize that we need to learn the process of patience as well. So like even though you think you're facing death, depending from what you have, not necessarily you're gonna die tomorrow. So it's more about learning how to lead with the concept and the possibility that you can die. And it made me realize that many people say live life like if you're dying tomorrow, and I agree. So live your life as if you are dying tomorrow, but also like try to understand that you're not dying tomorrow. Unless like whatever, I can't control your future, I hope you're not gonna die. But like, yeah, let's live life as if we're dying tomorrow, but also like, also balance it thinking that like we are eternal, so you're gonna live forever. And if you embrace the concept that you are going to live forever, again, there is no pressure, you have no work to do, you don't need to go to all the retreats, to all the yoga centers, like calm down, that's it.
It's all about going from having to I have a desire to, and also not being attached to. You know, it's like I want to go to Costa Rica,
Yeah.
and I don't have to. That's definitely something I don't have to. I don't have to go there to do the retreat I'm interested in to change my life. I can do so many other things that will anyway change my life. This conversation is changing my life. I want to Costa Rica, and if I can't go for any reason, it's fine. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I think this is a paradox, and I think it's very interesting that you put that in the perspective of life versus death, as saying, you know, life as if you were dying in the next 5 minutes. I would put that, like what, but also knowing that these 5 minutes can be forever.
Yeah,
It
like
can
you're
always
not
be.
gonna die tomorrow.
You don't know, and I think it's about enjoying the journey, enjoying the process, and enjoying not knowing
Yeah.
without not having the desire to know. It's this paradox that I find very interesting that you highlight.
Which I guess it lead us to the concept of balance, which balance for me doesn't mean to have a boring life when you're not like you're doing nothing and you're just and always in the middle of the things. I believe like for myself, I feel like I have balance and I can embrace balance when I'm actually like moving. And by moving, like I did like very like from horrible things to like very amazing things. So from one side to the other, like if we wanna be in the concept of dualities, so like from bad thing to positive things, I think I've done many of them. But it's thanks to them that I can realize I can be in the middle and I can make a choice like of being in the middle. So I think it's important to explore life, do things. And the other thing you were saying, it was about like this fact many people after they discover like they go through a very difficult thing, we tend to just travel around and like trying to get many answers from the outside. I think if I did something opposite, it's first because I'm privileged enough of like I've been traveling for the past 10 years. So like I think that like all the travels that I did before, it took me to this point, like meeting a lot of people, learning a lot of languages, understanding other people's realities, being able and ready to kind of kill my brain, my Western mindset. So understanding that like I'm ready to put on the side my culture and my beliefs for a while, and my ego if it's needed, to embrace the other cultures. It made me the possibility to explore very different sides, not of myself, but of the human experience. Because I believe if we grow up in a city or a country and we just stay there, we're just like embracing one aspect of human existence. But the moment we go in other countries and we can put on the side like our beliefs, then we give space to like for more experiences, human experiences to come. So after I did all of that, I realized like it's time now to stop, and I don't feel like I wasn't traveling anymore. Like for me, I was still traveling. It was just a different kind of traveling. Because it's also like people like, even if you're traveling a lot, like if people are traveling a lot, we get a lot of information, right, from our travels. And I think like no matter how long you've been traveling for, you still need to process those things. So maybe sometimes like you travel and you do a volunteer experience, then you go and study, and then you go working and you're changing countries, and we don't even realize like who are we becoming. And we are not going to be like global citizens or like international people just for the fact that you are moving from one place to the others, like in a game. Like I think you make a change when you're able to metabolize what you really went through. And then maybe you can be conscious of being like something, like a human, right? You're not just the Italian, Spanish, Costa Rican, whatever, like you're something more. And then I don't know what else you said before, like, the body thing.
And that should
Do you want to say something?
No. I think, well,
I don't want to be the interviewer now, so
It's fine. It's a conversation.
I feel at home.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's what I want people to feel. But I think generally speaking, it's this idea there of, there's so many things, layers in what you're sharing, but it's these detachment, detachment from your body, detachment from what will happen tomorrow, detachment while still doing, and that's a paradox. And this idea also of, there when you're talking about traveling, what I hear is the capacity of receiving. You can travel 2,000 countries and still be not affected at all.
Yeah.
Not having changed as a person, not having grown your perspective, because you just consume, but you don't receive the information. You're thinking, oh, they're like that, instead of thinking, well, if they're like that, that means I'm different, that means I am like that, using this as a mirror. And I think maybe I want to go on that concept. I think what you've done in your journey that you've just described is you accepted to do something that most people are afraid to do, which is facing the mirror, to see yourself fully. That's why you allow yourself to go see inside, that you learn from your traveling. You went for the journey of seeing also the good, bad, and the ugly. Because I think one of the reasons people don't do that is they're afraid to see the ugly. So I want you to share maybe what is the things that you've seen and discovered about yourself that's, even though were maybe not pleasant, were worth diving in.
I really don't. I don't know how to answer 100% for sure, but I know I don't think we have something ugly. Again, it's like we have different shadows of us, and we think they can be ugly or good, like if we keep attaching to the dualities we were saying before. So starting from the fact that I believe no one has something ugly to solve or to cover or whatever it is, starting from the concept that I don't think we are ugly or there is something ugly into us, we start to fight those things in the moment we give others and society and the other people and the concepts the power to make us think we're ugly. So what I can share related to this is maybe that also these things of detachment. I grew up as a gay man, right? So this means that by default in our society, mainly I am something not accepted, and I'm something already out of the normal concept of society. So I try to take the good thing about that, which means I feel I had to grow up not being attached to a family, because if you have any other condition in your life, which can be you're black, you're disabled, people can see that, and if you have a problem in school, in the street, whatever it is, then you go back home, you can still speak to your parents. They are going to understand you because they are black like you, for example, or they know you're a woman, or they can see you have a disability, for example. If you're a gay, which I don't think it's a competition, but just saying you go back home and maybe you don't want to share this to your parents. So it means detaching from society and from family and from the other people. So, which can be bad at first, but I think nowadays I know how to step in and out. So if I'm doing all of this process of growing up spiritually, or it's because I feel I have the right now to show up the way I am, no matter if I'm gay, no matter if it's the different aspects of me. I can have a disease, I can be gay, I can be straight, I can have a fixed job, I can be a freelance. It doesn't matter. I have the right to exist, and everybody has the right to exist, no matter what they are. But I had to go through a process of understanding that I grew up being detached from society, and if I have to see the positive side, maybe it's this, I don't have problem in just living my life by letting go of things. But there is the other side of the medal, right? I had to learn, and maybe I'm still learning how to fit, not to fit, but how to be part of the society. So that's why maybe we are here sharing stories, because it's not just about me, it's about everybody, which messages we can give, how we can be part of the society and help others grow and change. So yeah, I'm not ugly. Society is telling me I am ugly, but maybe whatever thing you think is wrong with you is not wrong. People are making you feel it's wrong.
So just to bring it on
Does it help?
Yeah, completely. I just want to bring it on the perspective, because it's a very valid point. Actually, that's the thing. That's beyond what I feel most people are afraid, is to see things about themselves that are supposed to be ugly, that are society or history or cultures say that it's not good to be that, instead of looking at it until you understand it and maybe learn how to use it, when it's good to use it, when you're actually maybe it's the reason why it's ugly is because you use it in the wrong time. And I'm using the double quote ugly because I agree there's nothing ugly It's just the idea of looking at something about us that we or other people reject, and looking at it until you find how you can love it. Because you cannot ask for other people to love that part if you cannot love it yourself.
Yeah.
But most people, because they're afraid of seeing that part of themselves, because again, they think it's bad, they cannot love it because they cannot see why it's lovable. So that's what I wanted to highlight and congratulate in your process is the courage of facing these parts of you and making the ugly beautiful. You know, and not saying it's ugly. You're a lovely person, everything, but it's what the word could. Some people having the same thing consider it's ugly, and you made it, and you say no, it's just beautiful. And I think that's the wisdom that I think is important to have. Now, let's wrap things up.
Really?
And the way I love finishing is, you know, we've talked about many things, but there's many insights for me, and in fact there are some for me. There will probably be a lot for the audience too, but it's about if you had to sum it up in one nugget of wisdom, one thing. Either you summarize that, or you just find another thing. If just like you want people to live with one thing.
If it's one word, for me, in a word, it will be silence. Although I'm a person like I like to interact, I speak a lot, and I'm very sociable. But for me, the key to many things is silence. I think like speaking is overrated in our society.
Just to sell that, because
You're not happy.
No. I'm very happy, but
But it's my nugget.
I want people to understand why it's so valuable. Because I agree with you, it's a very powerful thing. But give maybe an example where silence gave you a very specific insight, maybe.
Yeah, it's related to the thing I was telling you of meditating every day.
Yeah.
I think it gave me the opportunity to go like very deep inside, and by meditating, I mean like I had to understand it. Like meditation is a very long process. I think like many people find excuses like I can't meditate, it's not for me. It's for everybody. It's a human capacity. Like we can I don't know, touch things. We have like many senses. Meditation is a capacity as well. So like everybody can do that. It's not, you don't need to learn. You do it. But it needs like patience and like constancy. You need to be constant to get to that level, right? So it took many years for me to understand it. Like the kind of thing I was calling meditation, it was just, and the process of silence, it was just a process of preparation for actual meditations, which will be like, I don't know how to explain. Like I can meditate, for example, 20 minutes, right? And when I meditate for 20 minutes, then I realized that was not a meditation, but like just a process for me to start after an actual meditation. And then after I meditate again for other 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I realized like I'm giving myself the right and the opportunity to dive in an actual meditation. So it's like a process of building up like silence on silence on silence and listening ourselves. So I don't know if this makes you happy, but like for me it's this. I believe like in the silence we give things the opportunity to arise, right? To come up. And maybe as you were saying, like we need to face things that are considered ugly, but we need to give space to those things to come up. As much as we keep like getting informations and like advices from people, and then we never get the time to let these things come up, we cannot face them. And it's very important to give them space and face them. And we are scared, I believe, in our society to be alone. Maybe it's a problem, like loneliness is becoming like a very huge thing, right? We were saying in this day. It's the same thing also about loneliness. There's nothing wrong about being alone as much as you can do that like in a healthy way. So yeah, it's balance again.
Yeah. Silence and balance. Thank you so much. I think this, especially that last one, is very valid for me. I know I'm exploring more and more the silence, and definitely when you I think you use also a word that I highly resonate with is creating space. You know, the more if you speak or you're always in a constant social environment and you go from one interaction to the other, there's no space for something new. And it's like, and just to make sure people receive that, it's like imagine you have a home and you've been having that home for years. You buy stuff, you buy stuff, you buy stuff, and you never create the space, the silence for new things to come in. Your house is full. And I think it's
Sometimes you don't even need new things. Like you need something
You need
old, and
space.
you cannot even see it because it's like it's full of other things.
it's
right?
full. Yeah. So creating space with silence. Thank you very much. All right, this is the end. We're wrapping up. This was Nuggets of Wisdom, and you know the drill. I don't want you to just listen to that. I don't want you to be inspired by this podcast. I want you to find one nugget of wisdom that can apply to you and start implementing it right now. Because the reason Felice and I can be sharing and shining this wisdom is because we dedicate our life to embodying it daily. And because of that, we can impact other people. And I want you to be impacted, but I want you to impact other people. So take whatever nugget of wisdom you got from today, from watching this episode, and shining it out so that you can start impacting others. So this is Nuggets of Wisdom. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. And I'll see you very soon.
Bye bye.